Didn't really receive any kind of punishment or any, I think he was banned from like the next two events. Just kind of a slap on the wrist. Nothing like a fraternity being suspended.
I mean, what the five guys did was stupid, but it wasn't threatening anybody. There wasn't an email which said, shoot him in the fucking face.
Kind of makes you think there might be a double standard there.
The faculty advisor of the committee wrote a comment in the paper saying, we're sorry that these things came out, that they were public. Imagine if Nixon said, well, I feel wrong that you people found out about this. About that, I feel terrible.
I'm sorry that it was taken out of context, and it's kind of like, in what context is shoot the effing raghead terrorist in the face? I mean, what context is that, you know, okay? I don't know.
You know, it seems that the administration's policy is hate speech is wrong against certain people. That's the message.
I believe that the reason no action was taken was because Submani is an outspoken conservative.
So here at the University of Tennessee, you have free reign to issue death threats against a conservative.
That's how it looks.
Great things are happening at the University of Tennessee.
I'm not for speech codes. I'm not for political correctness. But yes, it does show a double standard in that it violates their codes.
Frequently, double standards on campus come from selective application of speech codes, university regulations used to prohibit speech that in the rest of society is clearly protected by the First Amendment.
Speech codes are a complete scandal.
The Foundation for Individual Rights in Education looked into speech codes at over 350 schools. At 91% of these schools, students could find themselves punished simply for saying what's on their minds.
Rather than saying we're suppressing speech, let's say what we're doing is ending harassment. And then the problem then becomes, what is the definition of harassment?
Anything which is intimidating, which is going to poison the campus environment, can't be allowed.
If a person has their feelings hurt, they will say they've been harassed. If a person feels offended, they will say they've been harassed.
I was harassed and intimidated by that op-ed, by that cartoon.
When most people think harasser, they think stalking, they think extreme kinds of behavior.
If you're offended by it, that's implicitly considered harassment.
They don't want to be known as a harasser, so they go away quietly. It's a very clever way of implementing a speech code.
Over the years, speech codes have been used to prohibit some rather innocuous behavior. Brown University banned speech that might make someone feel angry, impotent, or disenfranchised. Colby College outlawed anything that could lead to a loss of self-esteem. Be careful who you turn down for a date. Suggestive looks were banned at Bryn Mawr. Haverford College prohibited unwelcome flirtations, and UConn banned inappropriate laughter. And at West Virginia University, students were told not to use the terms boyfriend or girlfriend. The school says those words are too gender-specific. Instead, lover and partner are preferred.
The truth truly is stranger than fiction. You could not make some of this stuff up.
We're all protected by the First Amendment. We can all say what we want, but on a private campus, what you say can have consequences. You're usually sentenced, you're usually required to undergo some sort of sensitivity training.
School officials often use speech codes to suppress political ideas they don't like.
A pro-affirmative action rally at Berkeley is not going to be shut down. I haven't seen a case yet where a Free Tibet rally has been shut down.
At Indian River Community College, a Christian Student Fellowship wanted to show Passion of the Christ at an outreach meeting, invite people to come see the Passion of the Christ. The administration refused to allow that movie to be shown. Their justification was that the Passion of the Christ was R-rated, and younger students who weren't old enough to see R-rated, who could not legally see an R-rated movie, would wander in, be exposed to it, and what a crisis that would be. At the same time, however, in fact, the very same semester that they denied the Christian Student Fellowship the ability to see the Passion of the Christ, they allowed a play to proceed in their theater called Fucking for Jesus. The script of the play featured a woman masturbating to pictures of Jesus Christ. 80 to 85% of our cases have involved conservative students. Very simply, it's a reflection of the proportion of the complaints that we receive in our office. Now, that's not to say that liberals don't also have their free speech rights suppressed on occasion. They definitely do, and when they do, fire helps.
I'm politically liberal. That like a lot of the people who work with fire are your average sort of mainstream Democrat doesn't necessarily believe this is really happening. And I didn't really understand it was really happening until I ended up being the guy who gets the fire cases.
The editors of alternative school papers understand it all too well because they're on the front lines. About 6 times a year, a dozen or so students at Yale spend hundreds of hours putting together a single issue of the Yale Free Press. Over the years, the Yale Free Press has been a target of systematic theft. Entire press runs have been repeatedly stolen from distribution points around campus, and to this day, the Yale administration has taken absolutely no action. Why would they be a target? And why won't Yale do anything to help?
We are conservative/libertarian monthly political publication.
We've published on some pretty controversial subjects, such as the unionization of the grad students.
And of course, all the open-minded people at Yale treated their views with courtesy and respect.
There were piles of 300, so that doesn't disappear overnight. After it got stolen the first time, we reprinted it, put half out at first, kept half in my room. It was stolen. Put the other half out, it was stolen.
The previous issue was also stolen. And mysteriously enough, the most recent issue that we've put out is also missing.
The stolen papers cost the Yale Free Press thousands of dollars to print, but the Yale administration seemed uninterested.
They said that they might put a message out to the Yale community, but they never got to that for some reason.
They told us to take on the investigation.
We were also told not to try and victimize ourselves.
I've heard of thefts occurring on lots of other campuses of conservative papers.
The kind of problems that we've had pale in comparison to what happens on a regular basis at some other student papers like the Cal Patriot.
California Patriot is considered the conservative publication of UC Berkeley. It's affiliated with the Berkeley College Republicans.
The most popular way of distributing publications on campus is to leave them in certain designated publication areas, and every other publication does this. But when the Patriot was left there, we found that the stacks would disappear within minutes, and we weren't that popular.
We mainly distribute it in the main artery of campus, which is through Sproul Plaza and Sather Gate. The reason why we don't distribute it the way other papers do is because it either gets stolen or it gets vandalized.
A lot of the people that go to Berkeley actually might not have believed that conservatives existed there, and they are angry that they do. People don't like what you have to say, and they take it upon themselves to get rid of any information contrary to their views.
Well, why print it if it's simply going to be destroyed? No one's going to get it. So by handing it out, we can ensure that people do get it.
Someone stood out on Sproul Plaza, where we distribute by hand now, with a sign saying California racist and a big arrow, and stood out there with us all day long. So that was fun.
We get fascist and Nazis a lot, and Hitler Youth.
Last week, a guy came up to us with a bullhorn and told us the only good Republican is a dead Republican.
Andrea Irvin, our club president, they actually rammed her and tried to push her down.
The very first time Vanessa handed out the Patriot, she found out just how tolerant her fellow Berkeley students could be.
The woman approached me. She was clearly not too happy, but it was my first time passing it out, so I was excited. I come up to her, smile, and offer her a Cal Patriot. She blows her stack at that point and just hawks a loogie at me. There were 2 other times people attempted to spit on me that day, too. It was a bit